And welcome to the Town Board meeting for the Town of Ossining, September 9th, 2014. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening.
Councilman Harder,
Present.
Councilman Wilshire,
Present.
Councilman Blaha,
Present.
and Supervisor Donnelly.
Present.
Do we have any announcements this
We
evening?
just have a very few tonight, so I just want to go over some things. It is 7:30. We just have a few more hours in order to go and vote in the primary. If you live in the village of Ossining and you're a registered Democrat, you should go out for your choice of mayoral candidate. And and you should go and vote if you're a registered Democrat for a governor and a lieutenant governor. Those are the three primaries that are happening right now. If you live in the unincorporated area or the village of Briarcliff, you can vote for the governor and the lieutenant governor. This Thursday, September 11th, at the waterfront, we will have our 13th annual 9/11 solemn service. Please join us at 7 o'clock and with all our first responders from the unincorporated area, the village of Ossining, and the village of Briarcliff. September 20th will be a health and fitness fair from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Richard Wishney Park off the newly paved Pleasantville Road. It is completed up at that end of the road. It's been a harrowing time if you live over there, as I do, but it's well worth it if you've ever traveled on Pleasantville Road. September 30th, we will be having our next town hall meeting, and that will be in the library at 7:30. The assessor will be there to update and answer questions, any questions that you have, and we'll also be able to schedule for your home inspection if you received a card and have not yet been able to have an inspection done. That is it for this evening, Madam Clerk.
Does anyone else have any announcements? Okay, we'll move on to public comments on agenda items. No? We'll move on to board resolutions. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby approves the August 26, 2014 minutes of the regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated September 9th, 2014 in the amount of $232,689.97. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved the Town Board hereby appoints Suzanne Donnelly as marriage officer for the Town of Ossining effective September 9th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I just want to explain what that is. As being the town supervisor, as long as you have a resolution from your board, you can become a marriage officer. Mary Ann Roberts is, of course, our key marriage official, and she does 99% of the weddings. However, her husband has been having some health issues, and so in order to support her, I will do this in case we have had occasion where people come in with the proper license. I do not issue licenses. I do not do any of the paperwork, but if you come in with your proper license and everything, we now can perform the marriage ceremony without burdening Mary Ann Roberts.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And a little crowd.
Tax certiorari 400 Executive Boulevard, LLC versus Town of Ossining. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by 400 Executive Boulevard, LLC against the Town of Ossining to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 400 Executive Boulevard, Town of Ossining, and designated on the tax assessment map of the Town of Ossining as Section 80.20, Block 1, Lot 19, for tax assessment years 2011 through 2013, which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester, under index numbers 160, 76, 11, 668-9412, and 661-6713. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property improvements as follows. And then we move down to resolve that the town attorney is hereby authorized and directed to procure and execute any documents necessary to effectuate such settlement, and is further resolved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, that the assessor is authorized and directed to make the changes and corrections to the individual unit assessment on the tax assessment roll of the town of Ossing, which will be ordered pursuant to the consent judgment to be entered in accordance with the terms of this settlement, and the receiver of taxes is authorized and directed to process and pay the refund of town of Ossing taxes estimated to be $20,485.02, which will be ordered pursuant to said consent judgment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I remember the day when we used to say, and in pencil, write in the new roll number as part of the resolution. I'm glad we're moving into the 21st century with computerized records.
Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossing hereby ends the seasonal appointment of Matthew Stuck, Parks Department, effective September 1st, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas property located 57 Ellis Place, Ossing, has delinquent taxes resulting in commencement of in rem foreclosure proceedings and a judgment of foreclosure, and whereas the town board passed a resolution on May 20th, 2014, permitting the temporary removal of this property from the scheduled foreclosure auction pending a sale of the property, and whereas the aforementioned condition has been met and the property owners have completed the sale of their property, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ossing hereby allows for the property owners to redeem said property by paying all outstanding taxes, interest, penalties, and fees, plus an additional 10% penalty on the lien amount which, upon the recommendation of the receiver of taxes, the town board finds to be fair and appropriate based on the specific and unique circumstances of this case. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the receiver of taxes to collect the lien amount plus 10% penalty without delay. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I just want to make one point here. It is not the town board's desire to be in the real estate business, so whenever we can resolve an issue benefiting the family, that if they give them a little time to sell their house, we were very happy to be able to do that on several of our properties.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, I just want to point out that in addition to what you just said, all the taxes are paid in full plus a penalty. So the town is not only made whole, but receives the penalty and also helps benefit members of the community.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Whereas good attendance is essential to student achievement and graduation, and the town is committed to dedicating resources and attention to reducing chronic absenteeism rates with a focus starting as early as kindergarten. Whereas chronic absence, missing 10% or more of school for any reason, including excused and unexcused absences, or just 2 or 3 days a month, is a proven predictor, can't even speak, of academic trouble and dropout rates. Whereas improving attendance and reducing chronic absence takes commitment, collaboration, and tailored approaches to particular challenges and strengths in each community. Whereas chronic absence predicts lower third-grade reading proficiency, course failure, and eventual dropout. It weakens our communities and our economy. Whereas the impact of chronic absence hits low-income students and children of color particularly hard if they don't have the resources to make up for lost time in the classroom and are more likely to face systemic barriers to getting to school, such as unreliable transportation, lack of access to health care, unstable or unaffordable housing. Whereas chronic absence exacerbates the achievement gap that separates low-income students from their peers, since students from low-income families are both more likely to be chronically absent and more likely to be affected academically by missing school. Absenteeism also undermines efforts to improve struggling schools, since it's hard to measure improvements in classroom instructions if students are not in class to benefit from them. Whereas schools and community partners can reach out more frequently to absent students to determine why they are missing school and what would help them attend more regularly. Whereas school and districts must do more to track, calculate, and share the data on how many students are chronically absent so that they can deliver the right intervention to the right students. Whereas all students, even those who show up regularly, are affected by chronic absence because teachers must spend time reviewing for students who miss lessons, and whereas chronic absence can be significantly reduced when schools, parents, and communities work together to monitor and promote good attendance and address hurdles that keep children from getting to school. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees, that the Town Board, I read this over too, of the Town of Ossining declares that our community will stand with the nation in recognizing September 2014 as Attendance Awareness Month, and we hereby commit to focusing on reducing chronic absenteeism to give all children an equitable opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive academically, emotionally, and socially, and be it further resolved that the Board hereby A, seeks to raise public awareness and concern about the toxic impact of chronic absence, B, encourages all town residents to become engaged, and C, calls for sustained civil action to help parents get their children to school daily. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
We'd like to spend 1 minute in executive session just to talk about this for 1 second, and we're going to make an amendment to this.
Can I have a second first?
Okay, have a second. Give her a second.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We just want to, we're going to amend this resolution a slight bit. Okay? Yeah. So do we have a adjourn into executive session?
Yes?
Right. Do I hear a
Do I
motion
have
to
a
adjourn?
motion?
So moved. Move to go into executive session for legal advice.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Fine.
It was decided that paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that we would change it. So our new paragraph number 5 now reads, whereas the impact of chronic absences hits all students particularly hard if they don't have the resources to make up for lost time in the classroom and are more likely to face systemic barriers of getting to school, period. That is what our resolution will read. Madam Clerk.
Do I have a motion to adopt it as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen, for having a very in-depth conversation about that. And my eyes go back into...
Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining authorizes a 2014 budget adjustment to capital project 2013-2182 entitled Old Albany Post Road Dead End Restoration and Repair, increasing the adjusted project budget from $1,300,000 to $1,775,000. Additional project amount will be funded by a bond anticipation note ban for cash flow purposes and repaid in full by the Federal Emergency Management Agency unless cost exceeds allowable FEMA funds, in which case the ban is also a permanent local source, i.e. to be repaid by property taxes. Borrowing increase 0375110 2182, $475,000 Old Albany Post Road Dead End. Restoration and repair expense increase 0375730 0182, $475,000 Old Albany Post Road Dead End. Restoration and repair revenue. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Tom, did you want to talk on this, or it was really the bond issue? Okay. Or either one. Okay. Madam Clerk. Now, let me just go over this a little bit. We talked about this at length at our work session last week, and this is to, we do have a change order for Old Albany Post Dead End. One of the sections was has deteriorated even more while we were working on getting the monies, getting the funds. Every storm we have, it gets a little bit worse. So this is a change order for Old Albany Post Road Dead End, of which we will, we have already applied to FEMA for a lot of this money, and we will continue to apply to FEMA for the entire project, and hopefully get a large amount out of it. So,
All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? A resolution authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of an additional $475,000 bonds of the Town of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, to pay part of the cost of improvement to Old Albany Post Road in and for said town. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Town Board of the Town of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, improvements to Old Albany Post Road in and for the Town of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, consisting of dead-end restoration, including curbs, gutters, drainage, landscaping, grading, or improving rights of way, and other improvements and cost incidental thereto, are now hereby authorized at a maximum estimated cost of $1,775,000. Section 2. The plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is as follows. A. By the issuance of the $500,000 bond of said town, heretofore authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to a bond resolution dated March 12, 2013. B. By the issuance of the $800,000 bonds of said town, heretofore authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to a bond resolution dated January 14, 2014. And C, by the issuance of an additional $475,000 bonds of said town, hereby authorized, subject to the permissive referendum to be issued, therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law, provided, however, that the amount of bonds ultimately to be issued shall be reduced dollar for dollar by the amount of FEMA aid received thereafter. Section 3. It is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid class of objects or purposes is 15 years pursuant to subdivision 20C of paragraph A of section 11 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 9. Upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said town designated for such purpose, together with a notice of the town clerk in substantially the form provided in Section 81 of the local finance law. Section 10, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
Second?
I noticed, sorry,
No, you first.
I noticed on section 2, last word, list, A, B, and C. Item C says aid received therefore. I believe it should be thereafter.
Is it? I don't see it.
Right.
What?
Yes.
Oh, Councilman.
This would, yeah.
Doesn't need to be reworded,
Now, the bond, as
correct?
both Mr. Spector and Mr. Warren said,
I just have a question on number 3. I just don't understand it. Number 3 just says that hereby determine the period of probable usefulness is 15 years and is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. So does that mean that we can't pay it off before 5 years? Or I'm not sure I understand the paragraph.
Right. The 5 years refers to the fact that if a bond has a period of probable usefulness of more than 5 years, then it's subject to a permissive referendum. And the law also states a maximum period of probable usefulness, the PPU, for certain projects, and that determines the maximum amount of time that you can pay off a bond. So in this case, because of the nature of the improvement, the road restoration, which includes drainage and such like that, it's allowed to be paid off over 15 years.
Which is what we'll take the bond out for.
Yeah.
15 years. Okay. So just before we vote on this, I just want to reiterate what I said before, is I really do understand that we should do the best we can to deal with something and have it be long-term. I am a little concerned. I think Section 2 kind of says it all. It starts with 500,000 and then additional 800,000 and additional 475. And I do understand that FEMA is going to give us some money and that we have gone to FEMA to obtain as much money as we can towards it. We don't know whether that's coming back. And so at this point, we are at $1.7 million of a bond for the unincorporated town, right? This is the unincorporated town fund?
That's correct. They have approved about $400,000
Right.
already.
Right.
And then there's a second application that I think the application was submitted in April, and that takes at least 6 months before they'll give an answer on that. And now we're submitting a third request for this additional amount.
And I hope we get it, but I'm just simply stating that it's a lot. I understand. I think it's for good use. I just am concerned about the amount of it in connection with the fact that there might be some other roads we might want to fix. There's just a lot of money, but you know, as we do, we need to bond things out. It definitely is something I notice.
And as everyone else does, they take this very seriously when we are getting some infrastructure repairs, and I think we've done an outstanding job on a lot of the infrastructure, and I think this one is even one too, because the choice, as I've said many times before, when I first took over as supervisor, people were recommending that we buy the houses there, which would have been a minor fortune. I think getting this road up and running, the oldest road in Ossining, it has approximately 7 to 8 homes on it. Families live out there. We had a perfect example of how the road restoration has been working. There was a fire in one of the homes, and they had the fire trucks out there, which is unbelievably great job they did. So just like anything else, when we go to do road repair, when we go to do any infrastructure program, they are quite costly, and we're going to have to decide whether it is the right objective or not. And since we've saved a lot of money on other infrastructure programs, and we've been very wise on taking some money out of different fund balances to do certain projects, I think that we need to do this, constantly stay on top of FEMA, constantly request the entire amount that's spent, and see what they can come back with.
Madam Supervisor, I think this road has to be repaired regardless of who does it,
Right.
FEMA or whoever.
Right.
And it has to, if we have to fund it or whatever you gotta do, it has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really no big deal how it gets done at this point. I've been out there. That's a mess.
It is much improved because we've been moving along. We never thought it would be $500,000. We never even thought it would be 1.3 we hoped for, to be close to, with the soft costs and everything. So we have started already applying to FEMA for repayment. This is probably one of the best uses of funds, whether it be the unincorporated, whether it be the town general, or whether it be one of the villages. I can tell you that the paving job that's being done on Pleasantville Road is going to be quite costly, and I want to thank everyone because I will now have a car again. It's just like anything else. I think that as long as this board knows that it's spending it on very constructive things to improve the town as a whole, that it is well worth it. But thank you for your concerns.
And I do have some information on the fiscal impact if you'd like to talk about
Oh, that would be great. Great.
Okay. And fortunately, we're in been a couple of years where the cost of borrowing has been very, very low.
Especially with our new bond rating, too.
Yes. For the 15 years, based on what we've been able to issue bonds for in the past, the interest rate ranges between 2.25% up to 3%, worst case scenario. And so for $1 million, it comes out to about $80,000 annually for the debt service. And based on the assessed valuation for the town outside area, it's that would be $1.63 per thousand assessed valuation. And based on the average household assessment, it's about $37 on a tax bill. So
And we
that
have
would be the
a
impact.
marked improved road, and we can still move on and look at other projects that we need to look at in the future. Anybody else have a comment?
Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Mhm.
Councilperson Jeffries?
Jeffrey?
Jeffrey, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Councilperson Harder?
Aye.
Councilperson Wilshire?
Aye.
Councilperson Blaha?
Aye.
And Supervisor Donnelly.
Aye.
Thank you. Whereas a petition for extension of Austin Consolidated Sewer District located at 43A Morningside Drive in the town of Austin, Westchester County, New York, dated July 1st, 2014, has been presented to the town board by Colleen Kelly, and whereas an order was duly adopted by the town board on August 5th, 2014, reciting the filing of said petition, the boundaries of the proposed sewer extension, the improvements proposed, and the cost thereof, and specifying August 26, 2014, at 7:30 p.m. in the Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street, Austin, New York, as the date, time, and place where the said board would hold a public hearing to consider the petition and to hear all persons interested in the subject matter thereof concerning the same, and where such order was duly posted and published as required by law, and whereas the public hearing on the matter was duly held by the town board on August 26, 2014, where discussion of the matter was had, and all persons interested were given the opportunity to be heard, and whereas pursuant to Section 194(6) of the town law, the approval of the state comptroller is not required, since the entire burden of the financing of the proposed extension is to be borne by the petitioner, and there is to be no financing borne by the town of Austin, the Austin Consolidated Sewer District, or any prior extensions thereof. Now therefore be it resolved, A, that the petition is signed and acknowledged as required by law, B, that all the property and property owners within a proposed extension are benefited thereby, C, that all the property and property owners benefited thereby are included, and D, that it is in public interest to grant the relief sought, and it is further resolved that the extension of the Austin Consolidated Sewer District in the town of Austin, Westchester County, New York, as proposed in the petition, be and the same is hereby approved, and that the said sewer district extension include the property as described in the said petition, and it is further resolved that the town clerk shall, within 10 days after adoption of this resolution, file certified copies thereof in duplicate in in the office of the State Department of Audit and Control at Albany, New York, and record a certified copy in the office of the clerk of Westchester, of the County of Westchester. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby ends the probation period for Sarath Nair, intermediate clerk, and converts his status to permanent effective September 15th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Correspondence to be received and filed. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby accepts the following Town Planning Board resolution of subdivision plate approval dated August 13th, 2014. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Monthly reports. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby accepts the following monthly reports: Town Clerk's Office, GE Helicopter Report, Town Building Department, Highway Department, and the Town Supervisor's Office. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The tax receiver came in at 4:30 this afternoon with her report, and we just will put it on in 2 weeks. I told her that this afternoon.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Visitor recognition, not seeing anyone. We may have a motion to adjourn to executive session for legal advice.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, this ends another meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Ossining for September 9th. It is primary day, so you have approximately 55 minutes, probably 50 minutes. I would get over there 5 minutes early. To vote in the primary. If you live in the Village of Ossining and you're a registered Democrat, please feel free to go vote for the mayoral candidate of your choice, and for the gubernatorial candidate and the lieutenant governor candidate of your choice. I just want to make one more statement about there has been some discussions lately on this board and I just want to emphasize how seriously we take our jobs. I want to tell you that nothing is done, nothing comes before this board or comes to resolution without many, many meetings. I must say that there's many arguments, there's many discussions, there's many looking for alternative ways of getting a job done. As a matter of fact, if we take the old Albany Post Road as an example, we had the developer left for a couple of weeks while we reviewed our different options on how to complete that road. So I just want everyone out there at Old Albany Post Road to know that it's been resolved, and they'll be coming back and finishing that road hopefully before the winter season. Well, I know before the winter season. But we take our jobs very seriously. This is, in our eyes, this is a business, and we work together to accomplish our goals, and I think we've done a fantastic job. I want to thank everybody on the board. I want to thank the administration, and I want to thank all of the people that help put so many of these projects together. No matter how small the question is that they answer, we always get our answers. We have a lot of balls in the air. I took a couple of days off, and I think that I must have dealt with a different topic every half hour today. So it was a pretty interesting day, and but I do want to thank everyone for their great job that they do. And
Can I echo your comments? I just think that as a board, we have an amazing support staff, and I mean, it's
Absolutely.
everybody. It's just an amazing team, and it's a very well-oiled machine, and it's very efficient. I just a thrill to work on this board.
Thank you. Have a good night. We'll see you next week. Please join us at the waterfront on Thursday, which is 9/11, at 7 p.m. For our solemn service with all of the first responders and all the representatives from the town and the two villages, Briarcliff Manor and Ossining. Have a good week, and we'll see you next Tuesday. We will be at the Village Hall having a work session, and so we'll see you then. Good night.